I can't keep doing this, guys. I really can't. I can't keep defending. I can't keep justifying. I can't keep making excuses for this quote unquote hip hop culture. I can't keep up this facade as if there is not an inherent issue with what we call hip hop or rap culture and what we've taken upon us as black culture. To look at it and say to ourselves that it is not the issue or it is not a problem is to live in a state of delusion. And I've lived in that state of delusion for decades of my life. Why? Because I was genuinely a fan. I was genuinely the sort of individual who consumed the content, who consumed the music without a second question. I was a fan of the characters. I was a fan of the costume. I was a fan of this lifestyle that they have created for us. But I've come to a point at 27 years old where I say, enough is enough. I'm done. I can't do it anymore. There's nothing left in hip hop for me. And at first I was thinking, no, I'm boycotting hip hop. But then I really thought about it. I said, no, 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 I'm not boycotting hip hop. I'm done with it. I am discarding it completely as a culture. Now, look, I understand that there are artists out there who are contributing in a very positive way. Heck, I make the music. I understand that, right? I know that there are people with the best intentions. But when it comes to this mainstream form of hip hop, 99.999% of it is absolute toxic waste. And it is terrible for our community. It is terrible for our entire species, to be honest with you. I'm tired of the violence. I'm tired of the misogyny. I am done with the consumerism. I'm done with all of it, every single aspect of it. There is nothing in it that can be salvaged for me. Well, the beats are kicking. I'm done with them beats too. I'm done with them beats. Well, hey, you got to say them rhymes, so the melodies, though, okay. Yeah, the rhymes, I'm done with all that too, because with all of that, it's only used to perpetuate these very messages. And so I had to be honest with myself. And this wasn't easy because I know that I'm going to immediately get backlash from those who are defenders of hip hop culture. I know that. I already understand there's going to be justification because I did that to myself, yo. I did it to me. I was justifying. I was looking for any which way, a sort of angle to make it not as bad as it truly was because I was a fan. I needed to justify it in the same way R. Kelly fans were looking for ways to justify the things that he was doing, right? I mean, but you got to understand, he suffered abuse as a child. You got to understand, there was stuff going on in his life. You got to understand. No, 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 no. We got to understand that he did what he did and he made the choices he made and now he has to lay in it. Like they say, you make your bed, you lay in it. Now he's laying in that bed and it happens to be in a prison cell in a bunk bed format. And these are the consequences. But when it comes to this genre that we continue to perpetuate and we continue to pour into and we continue to justify and pretend is not an issue, so long as we continue doing that and we prop these individuals up as heroes within our community, what do we think is going to happen to our population? What do we think is going to continue to happen to our people? We're speaking all this, oh, the system is oppressing us and the system is against us and the man's against us when we are against our very own selves. And we can continue to blame external forces, but when it's all said and done, so long as we continue to perpetuate that message, we are part of the issue. We are part of the problem. And I'm talking about myself included. I was 6, 7, 5 years old listening to this music, becoming indoctrinated by these messages, believing that in these messages was something for me. I was trying to be hip. I was trying to be cool. I was trying to be in. I was trying to be with it. I was trying to be lit. I was trying to be all of these things. I needed to be a somebody. I used it to validate myself. And in the process of doing so, I internalized these messages that turned me into a monster in essence. When I looked at my psychology, the way in which I saw women, I was a monster when it came to that, right? I was trying to be a pimp. I was trying to be a player. I was trying to be, somebody who finessed and had game. When in reality, I was doing nothing but playing manipulation tactics. I was doing nothing but psychological warfare. I was viewing women in a certain way, in a misogynistic and a sexist way. That's straight facts. I know there's gonna be people, oh, you just, you blue pilled. Oh, you just a simp. Bruh, trust me, I not only was a part of that red pill, I was the red pill. I call people to their face. I say, you a simp, you a cook, you a this. I wasn't on the internet. I wasn't Twitter fingers with it. I was in people's faces. I would tell people, yeah, you are this, you are that, because I truly believed in that warped mentality. I believed in that warped ideology. And I justified it in the same way I continue to justify hip hop. And I did so until I couldn't anymore. Like I was looking for something. Well, we got J. Cole, we got Kendrick. Yeah, we can only name two people, right? Out of 100, if not a few hundred, right? You can go on a list of individuals who are not in that same space or not in the same vein at a mainstream level. And even with them two individuals, as much as I love, their music, there's still perpetuation of certain messages, whether they feel they have to do it or not. And some people have this argument of, well, you got to allow, you're taking food off of somebody's plate. If you're having this message or you trying to, to take away from these rappers and you taking food off of black man's plate, you taking money out of black man's pocket. You know what? If we are taking money out of the pocket of somebody who's perpetuating messages of violence towards ourselves, right? Of pimping and pandering, which is nothing more than trafficking of humans, right? If these are the type of individuals robbing one another, if these are the type of individuals that we're taking money out of their pocket and food off their plate, then good riddance. Okay? Perfect. Then it's working. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. It's the same as, man, the dope boy, he just trying to make a way. And you're going to take, food off his plate. This is the most offensive thing to anybody out there who is living a real life, right? Somebody is working that 9 to 5, whether it's blue collar, corporate, whether you're digging ditches, flipping burgers, or you're on Wall Street. For somebody who is making their money in an honest living, for somebody to tell you, well, that dope boy, right? That jacker, that stick up kid is just trying to make a way. That is the biggest insult. Everybody has a choice as to what they can do. Right? That's an excuse. You're trying to live out or perpetuate an image because you're looking for validation. And then you're going to say this is the only way out of this neighborhood. No, it's not. No, it's not. And I'll tell you something as a former dope boy, right? Bet you didn't expect that. Bet you didn't expect that from Mr. Turtleneck and hanging earring, right? I was a dope boy. I was in them streets. I was running around. I was running reckless. That's how I know. And during that time, I will tell you this. Most dope boys are barely making minimum wage. After you re-up, after you break down the pound, after you do all kinds of gymnastics with it, right? Flip it 10 ways till Tuesday, you're still barely breaking even or actually making any real money because you got to go right back and re-up. So if you want to talk about, well, this is a way out. No, it ain't. If that's a way out, then a 9 to 5, which is going to make you more consistent money, that's going to be a better way. Now, of course, I advocate entrepreneurship. I advocate doing what you truly love, what is within you, right? Using your gifts, your skills, your talents, and your aptitudes. But sometimes we need a springboard, and I understand that. But to use the perpetuation of the deletion of our people, which is what that is, right? That's all it's pushing. It's pushing the deletion of our people. If that's what you're going to perpetuate, good riddance. I don't want y'all. Y'all can go. We don't need you. Seriously. If I was still in that space, if I was still in that state, I would say I got to go too because I was a problem. I was an issue. I was a part of the problem as opposed to a part of the solution. And for most of us right now, we are still pushing. We are still edifying. We are still magnifying and pedestalizing this genre, right? Or it's not even a genre really. We call it a culture now. We call it the culture, right? Oh man, you just ain't for the culture. What is the culture? What is the culture that we are looking to preserve? What is it? One of violence? Yeah, we can do away with that culture. One of misogyny? We can do away with that. One of self-hatred? We can do away with that culture. One of hypersexuality? We can do away with that culture. Because none of those are edifying anything within the human experience. And so I'm done with hip hop. I'm done. I'm done. That was the straw that broke the camel's back for me. There was a moment I said, you know what? I thought things were going to be different. I thought things were going to change. I thought finally, hip hop was going to show itself to be something that can transform and mature with time. And now we're 50 years into the thing and we're still as a matter of fact, it's actually gotten worse. It's degenerated, right? And I understand that there are entities and people involved and, backward deals taking place, but still, it's like saying, well, the black man or whoever didn't create drugs. Yes. But when you choose to push those in your community, you are still adding to the problem. You understand me? This is again coming from somebody who came from that lifestyle, who knows that they were part of the problem. So we look at our environments and we say to ourselves, okay, you can choose to either be a part of the problem or a part of the solution. And far too many of us are continuing to choose to be part of the problem. Now, I'm not going to undermine the power of subconscious programming. There's going to be an argument out there that says, well, you don't understand. These are the environments that we know. These are the environments we come from. So all we know is what we see right in front of us. And I completely get that. As a matter of fact, this afternoon, I was talking to my girl and we talked a little bit about DMX's story, right? That was one of the first books I read when I was right out the streets. I was finally ready to do something with myself. And I read DMX's book because it was a transitional point for me. I could still relate to a story enough, but it was still reading at the end of the day. And when I read through a story, I started noticing like, man, there was she actually brought this up where there was a lot of abuse and, being raised by Jehovah's Witness, which is a cult, right? But also being abused by the same mother and kind of going through a lot of these traumatic events as a child shaped him as a man. And so you hear these stories of him, even when he started popping, he was still, doing robberies in the street. He was so institutionalized per se. He was so caught up in that mindset. He couldn't even wrap his mind around, your life has changed. You're becoming a millionaire now. You got a different life. You're coming off a tour and you're doing stick ups. That's not how we do it anymore, right? So I understand the power of programming, the power of subconscious stories that we tell ourselves, which are belief systems, which manifest as our reality. I completely understand that. But that also gets back to the detriment of hip hop, because most of us who have that mentality were raised on the music. This was our theme music. When I was riding around doing my thing, right? Slanging 20s, 50s, QPs, whatever it was, I was not listening to Bon Jovi, right? I was not listening to Earth, Wind, and Fire. My theme music was Nipsey. My theme music was Rick Ross, because that's, these people were popping when it came to those type of anthems back then. I don't really know who it is right now because I didn't gave up hip hop. I'm done. I don't care who is who in the game right now. But when I was coming up, these were the individuals who I would listen to. This was my theme music. This was what I would ride to. I wouldn't listen to Kirk Franklin Stomp. I wouldn't listen to that. So think about it. I had to get myself in a certain mentality, a certain psychology, a certain frame of mind in order to get away with the wrong that I was doing, that I knew I was doing. And so I needed a means to justify or condition myself into making it okay. And this is what we do with this music. It becomes the theme music to our lives. We grow up on it, and that becomes the messaging. And you know how powerful music is. All music is powerful, right? As soon as a song comes on, you hear the beat, you hear the melody, and all of a sudden you're humming the song to yourself. All of a sudden now you're singing the lyrics 2-3 times. You've listened to the song. Now you already know the hook, you know the chorus, and you're singing it to yourself. You're repeating it like a mantra. You are literally affirming. This is now an affirmation in your mind that you're perpetuating. If you, God forbid, you keep listening to that song, you're going to wake up with that song in your mind. You're going to go to sleep with that song in your mind. And you think that's not having an effect on a psychology? Now, I know I could get to movies and I could get to, well, they're doing it in Hollywood and they're doing it in this genre. No. Let's stop making excuses. This ain't about them. This is about us right now. Are we going to be a part of the problem or the solution, right? We can keep making excuses all we want. We can keep pointing fingers everywhere else, but we have ours to deal with. And so long as we continue to perpetuate this very same narrative, we're going to continue to get the very same outcomes. Be last in the, in the ring, be last in the runnings for everything. Oh man, the black man can't get no break because we ain't giving ourselves a break. We're breaking ourselves as opposed to giving ourselves a break. And I know this ain't everybody. That's why there are ones watching this right now. You're saying to yourself, finally somebody's saying this. Yes, I was waiting for somebody to say it too. And I'm thankful that there are few and far between who are willing to vocalize this, right? And willing to have this discussion and are not afraid to be seen as a sellout, because that was the fear for a very long time. I'll be honest, for myself, I was afraid to come out with this message because they're going to say, oh, you a sellout. They're going to look for something to point out. Somebody's watching this right now. Oh, look, man, who's it? Turtleneck looking head, right? Hanging earring looking head, nose ring looking head, though these people worship Tupac, yet have the audacity to call out a nose ring. Okay, you know what I mean? It works for what it works for, right? It works when you wanted to work for yourself. That's what we do. We pick and choose, right? When it serves you, oh, well, that's Pac. He was a real gangster. Okay, why are you glamorizing Pac? Why is Pac put on this pedestal like he's a deity? Why is Pac a god for you? because you've been told that he is. You've been told that the culture he represents is something to be sought after as opposed to something to be rejected completely, something to be discarded, something that is the problem. As opposed to that, you think it's a part of the solution. You're trying to be somebody in your community. You're trying to fit in. You want to be a part of the status quo. You want to be validated by the people around you. And so you accept a culture that you know is inherently toxic, and you have to make it something other than toxic in order for you to continue to perpetuate it. I get it. Trust me. I did it, wrote the book, read the book. You understand me? Distributed the book. 20 years at least, I was caught up in this mentality perpetually, in love with the damn music, made the music, right? Produced the music, wrote the music, performed the music. It was a god to me. But finally, I had to come to terms with myself and call it what it was. Just like everything else in my life. Just like facing the insecurities that I, wasn't willing to face, the beliefs of unworthiness and inadequacy, all these other things that I had to face within myself. In the very same way I had to acknowledge these aspects of me, I also had to come back to a place where I said, you know what, T? And that's the initial to my government name. Whoever knows it, knows it. I said, you know what, T? This ain't it. So long as you continue to put this thing on a pedestal, it will continue to destroy your life and the lives of those that you engage with, because I was not able to have a healthy relationship dynamic. So I bring a woman into my life. If I had my soulmate right now, I wouldn't have had my soulmate in my life right now, because I wouldn't be able to have a healthy relationship, having those images, having those ideas, having those concepts in my head, having those belief systems, seeing women in such a way, I wouldn't be able to do so. I would still be that disrespectful, cold-hearted, trying to be a gangster, trying to be a thug, trying to be all types of things, as opposed to being a genuine human being who can have an actual healthy relationship dynamic. That's what that's about. And so we need to do better, y'all. We need to do better. We can keep making excuses for ourselves if we want. That's a personal choice. I'm not going to tell you, you need to do this today and stop listening. I'm not going to tell you that. I'm not going to Dolores C. Tucker you, but if you don't know who that is, go look her up. I'm not about to Dolores C. Tucker you. I'm not about to burn the CDs for you. You're grown. You have the ability to make the decisions for yourself. But for me, I ask you this question. Are you going to continue to perpetuate this as a means to fit into the status quo, into the culture, to not be written off as a sellout or not black enough? Are you finally going to step into being a part of the solution and be different and do different? That's it. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Much, much love to y'all. Before I tune out, give a quick plug of my first published book, Doing Me Guilt-Free, Breaking Free from People Pleasing and Unleashing Your True Personal Power. Hopefully the kids can see this, even the grown folk twice, 3 times my age can see this and say, you know what? If this brother can put out a book, if this brother can publish a book, so can I. We got to do different. We got to see different. We got to be different. So if you want a copy of one of my books, make sure to click the link in the description below. Until the next time, namaste. Namaskar.